Hello, everybody. I am Mrs. Poppet, and this is my place. I'm so glad to see you came back for the next piece of our story. Are you liking the Snow Queen so far? Oh, it's very exciting, and we're going to have more excitement today. Today's story is the fifth story, and it is called Little Robber Girl. Little Robber Girl. The coach drove on through a thick forest where it lighted the way like a torch, and dazzled the eyes of some robbers, who could not bear to let it pass unmolested. "It is gold! It is gold!" they cried, rushing forward, seizing the horses. They struck the little jockeys, the coachman and the footmen dead, and pulled little Gerda out of the carriage.
"Ah, she is fat and pretty. She has been fed with a kernel of nuts," said an old robber woman, who had a long beard and eyebrows that hung over her eyes. "She's as good as a little lamb. How nice she will taste!"
And as she said this, she drew forth a shining knife that glittered horribly.
"Ow!"
screamed the old woman, at the same moment, for her own daughter, who was holding her back, had bitten her on the ear. She was a wild, naughty girl, and the mother called her an ugly thing, and had not time to kill Gerda.
"She shall play with me," said the little robber girl. "She shall give me her muff and her pretty dress, and sleep with me in my bed." And then she bit her mother again, and made her spring into the air and jump about, and all the robbers laughed, "Ha ha!"
and said, "See how she is dancing with her young cub, ha ha!"
"I will have to ride in the coach," said the little robber girl,
and she would have her own way, for she was so self-willed and obstinate. She and Gerda seated themselves in the coach and drove away over stumps and stones in the depths of the forest. The little robber girl was about the same size as Gerda, but she was stronger. She had broader shoulders and a darker skin. Her eyes were quite black, and she had a mournful look about her. She clasped little Gerda around the waist and said,
"They shall not kill you as long as you don't make us vex with you. I suppose you are a princess."
"No," said Gerda, and then she told her all her history and how fond she was of little Kay. The robber girl looked earnestly at her, nodded her head slightly, and said,
"They shan't kill you, even if I do get angry with you, for I will do it myself."
And then she wiped Gerda's tears and stuck her own hand in the beautiful muff, which was so soft and warm. The coach stopped in the courtyard of a robber's castle, the walls of which were cracked from the top to the bottom. Ravens and crows flew in and out of the holes and crevices, while great bulldogs, looking like they could swallow a whole man, were jumping about, but they were not allowed to bark. In the large smoky hall, a bright fire was burning on the stone floor. There was no chimney, so the smoke went up to the ceiling and found a way out for itself. Soup was boiling in a large cauldron, and hares and rabbits were roasting on the spit.
"You shall sleep with me and all my little animals tonight," said the robber girl,
after they had something to eat and drink. So she took Gerda to a corner of the hall where some straw and carpets were laid down. Above them, on laths and perches, were more than 100 pigeons, who all seemed to be asleep, although they moved slightly when the two little girls came near them.
"These all belong to me," said the robber girl.
She seized the nearest one to her and held it by its feet and shook it till it flapped its wings.
"Kiss it,"
she cried, flapping it in Gerda's face.
"There sit the wood pigeons,"
continued she, pointing to a number of laths in a cage, which had been fixed into the walls near one of the openings.
"Both these rascals would fly directly away if they were not closely locked up. And here's my old sweetheart, Ba,"
and she dragged out a reindeer by a horn. He wore a bright copper ring around his neck and was tied up.
"We were obliged to hold him tight too, or else he would run away from us. I tickle his neck every evening with my sharp knife, which frightens him very much."
And then the robber girl drew a long knife from a chink in the wall and let it slide gently over the reindeer's neck. The poor animal began to kick, and the little robber girl laughed, hee hee, and pulled Gerda down into the bed with her. The little robber girl put one arm across Gerda's neck and held the knife in the other and was soon fast asleep and snoring. But Gerda could not close her eyes at all. She knew not whether she was to live or die. The robbers sat around the fire singing and drinking, and the old woman stumbled about. It was a terrible sight for the little girl to witness. Then the wood pigeon said, "Coo, coo, we have seen little Kay. A white fowl carried his sleigh, and he sat in the carriage of the Snow Queen, which drove through the wood where we were lying in our nest. She blew upon us, and all the young ones died except us two. Coo, coo." "What are you saying up there?" cried Gerda. "Where was the Snow Queen going? Do you know anything about it?" "She was most likely traveling to Lapland, where it's always snow and ice. Ask the reindeer. That is fastened up there with a rope."
"Yes, there is always snow and ice," said the reindeer, "and it's a glorious place. You can leap and run about freely on the sparkling plains. The Snow Queen has her summer tent there, but her strong castle is at the North Pole on an island called Spitzbergen."
"Oh, Kay, little Kay," sighed Gerda.
"Lie still," said the robber girl, "or I shall run my knife into your body."
In the morning, Gerda told her all that the wood pigeons had said, and the little robber girl looked quite serious and nodded her head and said,
"That's all talk. That's all talk. Do you know where Lapland is?" she asked the reindeer.
"Who should know better than I do?" said the animal, while his eyes sparkled. "I was born and brought up there, and I used to run about the snow-covered plains."
"Now listen," said the robber girl. "All our men are gone away. Only mother is here. And here she will stay, but at noon she always drinks out of a great bottle and afterwards sleeps for a little while. Then I'll do something for you."
and she jumped out of the bed and clasped her mother around the neck and pulled her by the beard, crying,
"My moon nanny goat, good morning."
Then her mother filliped her nose till it was quite red, yet she did it all for love. When the mother had drunk out the bottle and was gone to sleep, the little robber maiden went to the reindeer and said,
"I should like very much to tickle your neck a few more times with my knife, for it makes you look so funny. But never mind. I will untie your cord and set you free so that you may run away to Lapland. But you must make good use of your legs and carry this little maiden to the castle of the Snow Queen, where her fellow playmate is. You have heard what she told me, for she spoke loud enough and you were listening."
Then the reindeer jumped for joy, and the little robber girl lifted Gerda on his back and had the afterthought to tie her on, even give her her own little cushion to sit on.
"Here are your fur boots for you," she said, "for it will be very cold. But I must keep them up. It is so pretty.
However,
You shall not want,
for you will not be frozen.
here are my mother's large warm mittens. They will reach up to your elbows. Let me put them on. There now, your hands look just like my mother's."
Gerda wept for joy.
"I don't like to see you fret," said the little robber girl. "You ought to look quite happy now. And here are 2 loaves and a ham, so that you will not starve."
Those were fastened on the reindeer, and then the little robber maiden opened the door and coaxed all the great dogs, and then cutting the string with which the reindeer was fastened with her sharp knife, and she said,
"Now run, but mind you take good care of the little girl."
towards, and Gerda said, "Farewell." And away flew the reindeer over stumps and stones, through the great forest, over marshes and plains, as quickly as she could. The wolves howled, the ravens screamed, while up in the sky quivered red lights like flames of fire.
"There are my old northern nights," said the reindeer. "See how they flash."
And he ran on day and night, still faster and faster, with the loaves and the ham were all eaten by the time they got to Lapland. Well, did you think that the little robber girl was going to let her go? I had to wonder, because she seemed to be kind of a spoiled little girl. But she was good at heart too, and she did let the little girl go. So now she's in Lapland, and she can try and find Kay. Come back tomorrow. We'll see what happens. Bye.